Welcome back. CoCreation Hub, or CcHUB, is at the forefront of leveraging technology to drive Africa's prosperity. With a focus on integrating technological solutions across various sectors, CcHUB transcends geographical barriers and steers Africa towards a future defined by innovation and inclusive growth. Under its leadership, CcHUB champions initiatives that harness technology and social capital to drive transformation. The Hub's efforts extend to supporting creative entrepreneurs through investment readiness programs, ecosystem development, and research initiatives. We are now joined in studio by Ojoma Ochai, who is the Managing Director of CcHUB. Ojoma, good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I'd like for us to start with you just sharing with us some of the perhaps most impactful projects you've led at CcHUB and projects, that have significantly contributed to Africa's technological and creative sectors.
So CcHUB has been around in Africa since 2010. So we have tons of projects that we've done that have been impactful. So I'll maybe pick two or three. Before I go into the two or three, generally speaking, since we've been in business, over 1,500 companies can trace their roots back to programs that we've done, whether it was an incubator or an idea challenge or an innovation challenge or a hackathon. More than 1,500 businesses. More than 15,000 jobs have been created by the businesses that have started through our activity directly. And then another almost 50,000 jobs have been created indirectly through the value chains of these companies. So generally speaking, that's the business that we're in, of starting companies and supporting them to scale and create jobs. But in terms of projects, I'll name maybe two or three. One is a project, incidentally, that has an open call at the moment. We run a fashion accelerator that's funded by African Development Bank. It is open to fashion entrepreneurs anywhere in Africa, including Namibia, obviously. And essentially, it supports people working in the fashion value chain, whether they're designers, whether they're illustrators or photographers, or whether they're building technology solutions for fashion. It supports them through an accelerator. And then at the end, they get the chance to pitch for up to $10,000 in financing. So we've run that project already for 2 cohorts. Of the participants that have received funding and received support, we're seeing different types of impact. Some of them have bought land as an asset for their company. Some of them have been featured in international magazines like Vogue, which gives them opportunities for international exposure. A lot of them, over 50% of them, have employed new people because their businesses have grown. So that's one example of where we have participants from over 40 countries on the continent, including Namibia. And participants on the program are reporting that their businesses are scaling and they're employing more people. That's just one example in fashion. Another example in education, we support edtech startups. So startups that are building technologies that improve teaching and learning and the school system. And over a 5-year period, we're deploying $10 million, over $10 million to support these edtech startups. So far, we've deployed $4.8 million, thereabouts, to 48 startups. The funding is provided by the MasterCard Foundation. So that's another example where it's not just about giving money to those startups. The hundreds of thousands of users that are using those edtech solutions are improving their literacy, they're improving their numeracy, they're improving their critical thinking, and so on. So those are just some examples of the work that we're doing to support startups, to support the innovation ecosystem, so that we can create jobs and we can build wealth on the continent.
That's fantastic. Ojoma, how do you envision, Africa's creative economy, going forward, and what role, does technological innovations play within this vision?
When you think about the creative industries and the creative economy in Africa, we're talking obviously about sectors like film, music, fashion, even broadcasting, advertising, architecture, and so on. Those sectors historically have created lots of opportunities for young people. The creative industries in the world are the largest employer of young people between the ages of 17 and 25. And we see a massive opportunity in there for Africa because obviously we have young people. But in terms of technology, if you think about music, for example, and how we consume music, we're moving very much to consuming music on mobile phones or consuming music through streaming platforms. So you cannot separate that technology anymore from the music industry.
Right.
Or if you think about social media, and if you think about the social media platforms you enjoy the most, think about them without music. Think about them without videos. So again, what's social media without creative content? So there's, in fact, we wrote a paper, a global report for UNESCO in 2022 or so. And one of the conclusions of the paper was it's getting impossible to separate between what is the digital economy and what is the creative economy. Because what is the digital economy? Digital economy is social media platforms, is large platforms, is the internet. And you can't think of these things without thinking about creative content. Similarly, you cannot think of creating content or distributing content or consuming content without technology. So we see that those two things are increasingly intertwined. And therefore, for the creative industries in Africa, we must leverage technology. Obviously, generative AI is the new thing on the block. And there's an opportunity. A lot of people fear that it will disrupt the creative value chain, and it will. And I often tell people who ask, will AI take my job? I say, no, AI will not take your job, but somebody who knows how to use AI will take your job. And so I think that's where that integration needs to happen.
Talk to us, Ojoma, about how CcHUB fosters collaboration and innovation amongst local creatives.
So at the heart of our work at CcHUB is what we like to call social capital. And it's this idea that success is linked to community. And we only succeed if we collaborate. So the underpinning of all our work is to build community. And so in our physical space that we have here at CcHUB, Namibia, we build community essentially by doing lots of activities. So we do lots of creative mixers, we do seminars, we do workshops that bring people together.
Right.
Because you cannot build community with people you don't know, right? You first have to know them. To know them, you have to meet them. So we create chances for serendipity to happen, whereby you go to a mixer, you meet somebody, you collaborate with them. So that's the first thing we offer on an ongoing basis. In fact, this week, while I'm here on the 18th, we have one of such mixers where we invite creatives. Whoever's watching can obviously find information about this, but we have a creative mixer where creatives can come together, meet each other, and explore those connections. So that's at the heart of what we do. But on top of that, we also offer training around running businesses. While I'm here, again, I'm running a seminar for creatives on how to raise partnerships and raise financing. Because everywhere I go in the world, whether it's in Nigeria or Kenya, or even the UK and the US, creatives complain about not having access to capital and not having access to funding. On the converse, when I'm talking to investors and funders, they're saying, oh, we have money, but creatives don't know how to ask us for money, or they're not giving us what we require to be able to give them money. So those are some of the things that we offer to the creative ecosystem. It's skills, it's community. It's also financing through the program like Fashionomics that I mentioned. Startups can get up to $10,000, but there are other programs that we run where there's also funding attached, as long as businesses can meet certain criteria related to the funding.
You mentioned there'll be a mixer while you're here in Namibia. So what are your expectations for the upcoming creative industry mixer?
My expectations for the mixer are that people meet each other. And it sounds really simple, right? But we know, and we've seen over and over and over again, that when people meet each other, when people who have a passion for their country, for technology, when they meet each other, magic happens. Because they collaborate, they build businesses. Nobody can build any sustainable business by themselves. In the creative sector, in the tech sector, this notion of co-founders and collaborators is critical. And so my expectation really is that as many people as possible meet each other and spark connections that will lead to long-term partnerships. And that's the main objective.
What unique opportunities do you see, in Namibia for leveraging technology across, different sectors, creative sectors?
There is a lot of opportunity in Namibia to leverage creative sectors. Whether you're talking about distribution of content and figuring out how to use mobile phones, for example, to consume and monetize content. Because what we're seeing often is people are creating content, but they don't know how to monetize on these digital platforms. So I think there's a massive opportunity. And the beauty of digital consumption of content is that then your market doesn't have to be local, right? Every time I come to Namibia, people tell me, oh, our market is small. And my response is, yes, it's small, but you don't have to only sell to your market. So I think there's a massive opportunity to sell content from Namibia to the world. So that's a massive thing that technology can do for the creative sector. But even when you're thinking about goods, physical goods, with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area that's now in effect with the new digital trade protocols, there's so many opportunities that will start to emerge around e-commerce. Namibia has relatively good infrastructure for production, whether it's garments, whether it's crafts, whether it's, different kinds of products. There's an opportunity to produce in Namibia for the rest of the world. I remember in the last year, we have produced a lot of our branded CcHUB material from Namibia and shipped them to the rest of the continent because the capacity is here to produce. And so you produce here and sell in the rest of the continent. We're walking the talk because we're buying products and collateral from Namibia and taking to the rest of our offices in Nigeria, in Kenya, and in Rwanda, and so on. So those are some of the opportunities that we see. I would say a final opportunity is filming in Namibia. A lot of international productions from the US, from Germany, come to film in Namibia. Not so much productions from the rest of the continent. And I'm asking myself, why is that? Because countries like Nigeria, countries like Kenya, countries like even in Egypt, Morocco, that are creating content would look for good filming locations with good film incentives, which Namibia has. And so we have to ask ourselves, how do we use technology to make sure that people see the opportunity for filming in Namibia, for example, and come and film in Namibia? And those are some of the things we want to try and do because we have a Pan-African reach and Pan-African network. We want to market Namibia as a place to collaborate with, as a place to do business, but also take Namibia to the rest of the world. We have 3 startups from Namibia that are in Lagos this week. They're attending Moonshot. Moonshot is a massive technology conference that has something like 4,000 people attending from around the world across the tech and creative sector. And we supported 3 startups from Namibia to go there and engage with this global tech ecosystem. Right. And in addition to attending the conference, they're also taking part in a learning expedition so that they can, again, meet people that they can potentially collaborate with, that they can potentially sell to, so that we start to strengthen some of those bonds between Namibia and Nigeria and the rest of the continent.
That's fantastic. Somebody watching this evening who would like to be part of the mixer, can they still register to be a part of it, or they just need to go on the social media pages?
Absolutely. They just need to find CcHUB Namibia on Instagram or on LinkedIn or on our website, and they can find information about how to join the mixer.
Awesome. Ojoma, thank you so much for being here this evening. Lovely speaking to you.
Thank you for having me. It was very good to be here.
That was Ojoma Ochai, who is the Managing Director of CcHUB, speaking to us there. When we come back after this very brief break, our conversations here on the Daily Roundup continues.